Should you talk to an attorney before even forming your company? What should you consider when picking an attorney? How much should you expect to pay? I'm Jamie.
I'm Mark.
And we're Social Sudo. So Mark, why should we talk to an attorney before forming a company?
Yeah, so just like a mentor, attorneys are very important in order to give you good advice on how it is that you should structure your company. Typically, if you've already created a company, you might have some skills in mind already that enable you to go out, say, I need an LLC, it's got to be a partnership, and I know how to proceed and do these early stages to apply for an EIN number. The problem is that everybody watching these videos has probably never formed a company before, and there are a ton of steps that one needs to take in order to properly form a company. Things like registering with the Secretary of State, applying for your EIN number, which is kind of like it's basically your tax ID number. It's basically a classifying number that ensures that you're paying your taxes and basically everything is being filed and reported correctly. Not only that, but if you do have partners, if there are percentage allocations where one partner might have more equity or less equity, it's very, very important to be speaking with an attorney about an operating agreement. An operating agreement is basically a really strong document that sort of is basically the guidelines for any subsequent task that takes place in your business. If somebody's going to leave, or if there's any disbursements to be made, that operating agreement dictates the percentages that everybody receives, which is agreed upon as you form your company. There's just little things that probably most of us wouldn't know when forming a company that an attorney is going to help with. So very, very important to consult an attorney from the start.
Right. And so it sounds like a lot of those things, if you had experience, you might be able to do yourself, but especially since these videos are tailored towards first-timers or people with less experience, an attorney is going to help kind of hold your hand through a lot of that stuff.
That's right. And to be truthful, even I think experienced entrepreneurs, people that have already formed companies, are still going to want an attorney simply because of maybe prior exit strategies that they have taken, or other just quarrels that they may have had with operating partners. So they're going to want an operating agreement, and an attorney is the proper person to be handling that type of document.
So I'm convinced we need to pick an attorney. How do we go about doing that? What kind of criteria do we look for?
Yeah, so it's very important to pick an attorney that you deem knowledgeable, friendly, and somebody that you can bond or relate with. It's sometimes you'll talk to people, you say, look, I don't even know where to start, and you'll get somebody that refers their attorney and you meet with them. Now, that's perfectly fine. Typically, most people do find an attorney that's through word of mouth, but it's also important to sort of question a few other people, or even do a Google search to find local business attorneys that are within your region, and interview a few. In a sense, ask them what their rates are, ask them if they will help you get started pro bono, give them a little bit of details about your business model, and see if they want to work with you and the things that you're doing are well within their wheelhouse. So it's very important when picking an attorney to really just obviously consider their pricing structure, consider whether or not they're willing to help you as an early stage entrepreneur. And also, lastly, the most important, do you get along with your attorney? Is it somebody that you enjoy speaking with and can trust?
How much should we expect to pay in attorney's fees when we're forming our initial company? And how might you be able to negotiate down a bit?
Yeah, so, I mean, you can always negotiate everything. The reality is that if you are successful downstream and the attorney recognizes the fact that you are hardworking and that you really mean to start this company, they are going to realize that there is an investment to be made on their behalf by treating you like a good person, giving you reasonable rates early on, and then later on almost cashing in off your success, because they're running a business too. So typically it's it's a very strong point to sort of negotiate a better pricing structure early on as it relates to the simple tasks in terms of just setting up your company And I would classify those simple tasks as applying for your EIN number, and also getting sort of a straight line operating agreement in place for yourself or any partners that you have, and also registering with the appropriate parties. So if you are an LLC, if you're a C Corp, they will help give you some guidance on which of those company structures to form, number one. And number two, they'll tell you the best place in order, or state rather, to register. Sometimes it's advantageous to register as a Delaware LLC, even though you're not operating in Delaware. And sometimes it's advantageous to register as an LLC or a C Corp within your own state. So that's a little bit bigger picture. There's a little bit more to talk about there, but that's what an attorney is really good for. They will give you the details as to why one is better than the other.
And how much should we expect to pay, as in, like a ballpark estimate, so that we can get anybody over like a barrier to entry here?
So typically, I think those early setup fees, they do range. I would think that if you're an early company and you're just starting out, an attorney should offer this stuff pro bono, at least the service and the amount of work that they provide, and they should really just be billing you for the total cost of registering. And those generally don't go into the thousands. Those are generally in the hundreds. I would say between $300 and $600 to basically register and sign up everything. It is reasonable for an attorney to probably charge for a little bit of the work on an operating agreement, depending on how complex in nature it might be. And I think on an operating agreement, you're probably, again, looking at an expense that's probably around the $500 mark for a reasonable startup cost. If you are forming a second company or a third company with the same attorney, they might charge you more because you've already established a relationship, and chances are you have signed basically an agreement with that attorney that is your attorney and that's who you use, and you've already agreed to their terms. But typically that term sheet wouldn't really come to you until after the company is set up, and that's when any legal consultation might carry a larger fee that's actually more consistent with what the firm would charge the client.
So in our future videos, we're going to look at our engagement letter with our attorneys and our operating agreement, and we'll also just go over what our fee structure was like to give everybody an example of generally what it costs to start a small business. So, all right, thanks, Mark.